Everybody, Madcap's Comedy Podcast. I'm sitting with the great, the infamous, the famous, the notorious Mr. Cam Bertrand. What's up, brother?
What up, man?
Thanks for doing the show,
yeah,
man.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you being out here, man.
You're...
Yeah, man. So, last night.
Last night was perfect because
Yeah.
it was the epitome of what comedy is.
Go for it, yes.
Right? So the first show, packed out, right?
Yeah.
But they have this energy of entertain me.
Yeah, it
right?
was too.
And then late show, a little lighter,
Yeah.
right? But they were a blast.
Yeah.
12 people who were like, bro, we want the bars. Like, we're having fun. Like, it's interactive. It's a good time. That's what comedy is.
Yeah.
Right? Comedy isn't this,
I like that take.
dance monkey. Like, that shit irritates
It's
me,
like the
bro.
people that walk in, boy, you comedian, tell me a joke.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
That's
bro,
what
I'm
that
going to
is.
hit you.
There's 80 of those in one place. And, the show still went good. Everybody still
Fuck yeah.
enjoyed it. But it's still one of those things where, they leave going, I had a great time. And you're like, motherfucker, I couldn't tell. You're like, for 45 minutes, I'm standing up there looking at you in the face. And you're like,
Oh, we got 4 positive 5-star reviews on Google last night.
They're like, this pleases me.
Yeah,
that's
right.
That's what it felt like,
Do you think
felt
as a comic filter though, like you feel the room different, right? You feel the show different at the end, right?
100%. So the audience doesn't know what you're feeling, right? They
Yeah.
just think the show is the show, but you're on stage and you gauge it based on everything you've done in your life, right? So
Yeah.
you've done great shows, you've done bad shows, you've done this and that, and you know how certain jokes work. So if the joke doesn't work how you expect it to work or how you know that it works, you're like, fuck y'all. You're like, nah, bro, this is okay. And so but in their head, they're going, oh, I enjoyed that joke, but I just didn't out loud laugh. And
Right.
it's all a situational thing, right? So you don't know if they had a long day of working, if they're just not out loud laughers. But if you get 80 people in a room and none of them are out loud laughers, you think you're bombing.
Yeah,
But
it's true.
They're all like, oh, we had a great time. But you
Everybody said that.
right,
Yeah, that's
but
true.
you're like, I didn't. Because I perform. It's like you're telling jokes to your grandparents. They're still going to love you. They're still going to have a good time. But they're like, I enjoyed it to myself. And you're like, that makes comedy boring.
Yeah.
That's like if every concert you just snapped your fingers.
And and just
It's
killed
just
it.
one of those. Every
Yeah.
time they're like, where's the energy?
Yeah.
I want to feel excitement. I want to know that you're having a good time. Because if I'm on stage and I don't know that you're having a good time.
It's hard to have a good time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of my favorite ideologies, right, is Patrice O'Neill. He said, I'm not bombing, we're bombing.
Oh, I like
right?
that.
So it's I will take this entire ship down. Don't make me feel like this is me. No, this is a team effort, right? This
Well, you
isn't
hear how
just-
people say you can never blame the crowd, and I disagree with that.
You can't, it's not a never. There's
Right.
times. There's times where it's them, right?
Yeah.
But you try not to make it a case, constant, ever. It's always you.
If you're the comic saying
Right.
it's always the
If
crowd
it-
week
if
after
it's
week,
always them, it's you.
that's you. Yeah.
I'd say it's a 70-30 split.
Okay, that's fair.
70% of the time it's the comic. You could have adjusted, you could have done this and that, but 30% of the time, y'all were whack.
For y'all watching out there that came to the show, or anybody, if you're in the audience, you're gonna be that person. Don't be that 30%,
But see,
man.
I'll always, if I'm not having a good time, I have to find a way to have a good time, which,
Yeah.
I'll address it. I'll be like, some of y'all are having fun, and, so that the people that are having fun, they'll be like, we know. Yeah, we are having a good time. The people who aren't, they're like, at least he knows. It's a trade-off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to address it, because I can't just, I can't mentally, because if I go on autopilot, bro, we're both not having a good time.
Yeah.
I'll just be out there I went to the mall today. And that sucks. But,
Yeah, it becomes almost script-like. You just kind of.
boring.
Yeah. So the history of you, man. What got you into comedy? What started you in comedy?
When I was 14, I saw Dave Chappelle's Killing Him Softly,
Oh,
and
yeah.
immediately I was like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
He gets paid to do that.
Yeah.
And so I would go to school and I'd write jokes, and at the lunch table, they wouldn't know that I wrote these. And I'd just be spitting, I'd be like, you see Miss Applebottom's jeans, and da-da-da, and be talking about teachers and talking about students and talking about lunch and all this stuff. And sometimes it works, and sometimes you'd be crushing, and sometimes the lunch table would be like, bro, you ain't talking about nothing.
That dude's weird.
Yeah. You'd be like, bro, Cam don't never shut up.
So 14, what area? You out in Tampa?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was in Ruskin, Tampa, Brandon area, so I would bounce around a lot. We moved a lot. My entire childhood, dude, we would move every year. My
Yeah.
brother would get in trouble, so I've lived in Baltimore, Michigan, Missouri, Texas.
So you already used to
Alabama.
road comicking.
Yeah. I was finding new friends every way I could, right? And the
Yeah.
only thing is, the common ground is, be funny.
Yeah.
Everybody likes the funny person. There's only so many places you can go to the school and be the tough guy. You can be this guy. They've already got that guy. You'll have another funny dude.
Yeah.
There's never no, stop being funny. We got Jason. He hilarious.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, man. If you can find how to make anybody laugh,
Yeah.
you're in. That's the quickest way to get women. That's the quickest way to get
True.
friends. That's the quickest way to just not have
Funny's
no beef.
also intelligent on the psychology back end
100%.
of it. Yeah, you can't, well, unless you're just a slapstick, idiot dude that's just tripping and falling all the time, right?
Yeah, you're just like, lighting your butts on fire. The farts.
Yeah,
That guy,
yeah.
you're just like, he's hilarious. But you're like, that's a stupid dude.
Well, I don't know. The Jackass made a couple million doing that, though, right?
Took a lot of them to do it.
Yeah.
Took a lot of that. Took a lot of that guy to do it.
And in pain, a lot of pain. Do you remember your first time on stage? When was it? What was it? Was it
October 20th, 2013?
like that? It was November. It was cold. It was cold outside. I had a red sweater
Yeah.
on.
I had because it was side splitters, so you had to send
Your first
email.
stage?
Yeah. So,
Wow.
So this is what happened.
Open mics out?
It was kind of some petty shit.
Okay.
So my parents sat me down right after high school was like ending, and I graduated 2012, and so they were like, "What's the plan? What are you gonna do?" And I was like,
that fucking question.
yeah, I was like, I'm gonna go play ball. So I was like, I'm gonna play
you
basketball
a
at
baller.
FAMU, right? So I went to FAMU and I walked on, right? And so immediately 3 weeks in, I was like, college is not for me. Like this shit is hard, right?
Yeah.
But before I left January, right, for college, and right before that, my dad was like, what's the backup plan if basketball doesn't work out? Because it's not going to. He was like, your genetics are not built for D1 basketball. And he was right. But I was like, well, I want to do stand-up. And he was like, what's plan C? He was like, that's not going to work.
Give me an accountant in here somewhere.
And I was so petty that I was like, no, what you mean? What you mean this can't work? I was like, no, I could do it.
Yeah.
Fucking do it. And so my mom was like, do whatever you want to do. Just put everything into it. If you do basketball, put everything into it every day, or
Sure.
comedy, just every day do it. And so I had Googled open mics near me. Side Splitters is the first one that came up, right?
Yeah.
So I emailed him, and I was like, because you booked it like a couple months out.
Yeah.
So I had emailed him a couple months before, and then he was like, all right, your date is October 20th. And I was like, all right, cool. So I had a month or two to prepare like a 5-minute set. So I go there, I do it, and the only people there it was a good crowd, but I had brought my mom, my childhood best friend, his brother, and his mom.
Yeah.
And they're all sitting in the back just worried this is gonna.
It's almost like they stress out more than you, right?
100%. They were like, this is gonna be trash, right? And so, oddly enough, I had to follow this Tampa legend. His name's Pretty Paul Parsons.
Yeah.
So he's 80 years old, dirty, filthy comic, bro. Hilarious,
Yeah.
absolute murderer. But my first time on stage, I'm following a murderer. Everybody else who had went up before him was terrible.
Oh.
He goes up, slaughters, and I'm like, yo.
Oh, no.
I'm like, how do I follow this dude? And I'm 18 at the time, so I go up and I've already got all my jokes, but I'm looking at my shoes the entire set. I'm so afraid to look up, because when I look up, it's just darkness. You can't see faces.
Can't see, yeah.
When you first start, you're not in tune to looking at faces. You're just so uncomfortable. So I'm doing all my jokes looking at my shoes, but a lot of them would get good laughs. And so I'd be every time I'd be getting a laugh, I'd look up and be like, oh shit, it's working. And I'd be like, all right, yeah. I was like, how come we got a CSI for everything? We got a CSI Miami, CSI New York. I was like, how come we don't got a CSI Africa? And then so I would do all these just terrible first year 18-year-old jokes, right? But they would be getting laughs, and then I'd look up and I'd be like, oh shit, this feel kind of good. and yeah, that was the first set.
That was it. Yeah. So I was gonna ask, do you remember any of those jokes? You sort of tapped on one already.
Terrible, dude. Yeah.
Do you save all that? I mean, are you writing it?
I have the notes. I have the first of all, I have all the notes saved in the thing. I've been using this app called Evernote. I've been using it ever since I started, and it's the best way to log set lists and just notes of just jokes and all these things. And I've been using it for 7 years, 8 years now. So I have the original set list. What I used to do is I used to print it out and then rip it into a square. So I have a lot of those squares tucked away at the house, and they're my first sets there. And I remember probably about 90% of the jokes.
Yeah.
They're just terrible.
They stick with you.
Yeah.
What's the writing process for you, right? From idea to stage, idea to in the set.
So the best part is the longer you do it, the more you figure out who you are as a person, and the more you figure out what do I like, what makes me laugh, right? So anything that I'm annoyed by or that irritates me, and I just start going in on it, then I'm it's there.
Okay.
That's.
So you actually sit down and go with blank open and have a starting, and do you write or do you thumb?
I can't sit down like that. My brain doesn't work like that. If I sit down at a desk and I go, I have to write today, nothing is getting accomplished. I'm gonna jerk off 3 times. It's not gonna happen. And so what it takes is us being in a conversation and you being like, bro, you seen that they charge us for bags now? And I'd be like, they're charging for bags? They're charging me to put the things that I'm paying for in a bag? Like, I gotta pay 10 cents for the thing I already paid $3 for. Like, if it's something that really just triggers me and we start going at it, that's how I start writing.
Now, you a thumber or not? You actually write?
I thumb it. I Evernote. So
Yeah,
I gotta,
okay,
I
yeah,
gotta
okay.
type it. You know, I'm a typer. That's
Has it
my
always been
generation.
that? Were you ever a writer?
I tried. It's just my thing is like I erase a lot. So like I critique everything. So like I'll write it out one way, and then when I go back and I look at it, I go, oh, I need to take this out. Ooh, put this in. And so like if you hand write it,
Oh God.
I'm also very OCD. I can't like scribble it out and then put this.
Because
and
then you'll need a new clean sheet of
gotta
paper.
just do it from start. Nah, I can't do all that. So
Yeah, I met a
like,
couple of hand writers that do that, and I can't, man.
it's tough.
I don't know how they're doing it.
Yeah, my set list I used to hand write and have on a little piece of paper too, but yeah, that goes out the window pretty early on.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, you always got to find your process because
So-
it's different for every single person.
Sure. So for you, it's something hits you, you start thumbing, you start messing around. When do you think something's ready for stage, sir? When do you think something's ready for stage? What's that for you?
I'm pretty fortunate. Like I get on stage like a lot, so anytime something is on my mind or something that like I'm at the point now where like I'll know how it should work on stage.
Yeah.
You don't know if it'll work until you do it, but I know me, I know how I present things, I know how my brain works, I know how I deliver things on stage, I know where to put it in a set list. So like if it's a good enough thought that intrigues me, I'll do it. Like it'll work. And
Yeah.
I know that it'll work just based on like it can't not. Like based on like this thought is a genuine thought that other people have had or have gone through. So like if the bit that I have about hippos,
Yeah.
you know what a hippo is,
Yeah.
right? So it's like you can't be like, "Yeah, I don't like this." You're like, "No, I'm giving you the thing."
Yeah.
It's not like I'm talking about like a foot cream that you all got to be like, "What?"
Yeah, what's that? Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, I kind of know as soon as I write it if it'll work or not.
Yeah.
Because I write a lot of things that I don't take on stage because I go, that's not ready yet. But you got to write it because then, it gets out of your head. 2, 10 years down the road, you can be like, that's where I put that.
Ah.
Because I do that all the time. We're like, it's a puzzle piece, man. So, like, one of the new premises I got, I'm using tags that I had from 3 years ago. Things that I didn't know what to do with. Just like, this is a great line. I don't know where it goes yet. And then you have this premise of like, my girlfriend does this and that. And you go, boom, putting that right there. And then boom. And then that 2-minute thought now becomes 5 minutes because of the things you wrote 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's all, you got to write everything. You write 100 things and 90 of them aren't usable yet.
Sure.
But they'll be usable eventually.
Yeah.
So.
Hardest part about comedy?
Maintaining integrity. Maintaining
Go on.
integrity.
That's interesting. Go on.
Because it's easy to be likable, right? But it's not easy to like yourself. So, like, you can take any gig, but was it a fun gig? Was it worth it? How did you feel afterwards? Did you entertain the right people? Did you sell out? Did you do the jokes you didn't want to do? Integrity is a big part of it. Do you take this opportunity because you could get famous or you could do this and that? I got offered to do a news show. They offered me money that I haven't even fathomed, right? But the news that they wanted me to portray, 1, I didn't agree with, and 2, I was like, that would have been my fan base, who I would be telling jokes to around the country. So, like, if I do that news show, right, yes, I've got money. Yes, I'm sustained. Like, I'm, that's a happiness.
Sure.
But then you're more miserable because you're lying to who you are as a person, and then you're lying to the people who think that you are that person.
Yeah.
So they come to see you live, and you're like, I don't believe none of that shit. And they're like, whoa, we liked like this. Like you're
who'd
selling
you
them a
just
drink.
become? Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, integrity in this game is very hard because you see the bag, and that's to that it's a better life essentially. You see the money, and you go, man, I've never had money like this. I've never seen this. But you also go, would I be happier with that money, or would I be happier, telling my hippo jokes? Would I be
Right.
happier, talking about, my girlfriend and whatnot? It just, yeah, it's very easy to compromise.
Yeah, it's good that you recognize that, right? But what about these comics, right? That maybe don't see a bag even in sight, right? Whether they even been in it 10 years, right, or maybe 5 months, right? They don't see that bag, right? For them, like you've been there before too, I'm sure, right? When you didn't see the bag coming, or did you always see it? Did you always see I'm gonna make it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew. Like early on, I saw the path. Like I saw who I was around. I saw what was good, what was considered good,
Yeah.
and who were considered the top people. And I was like, oh, I'm competing. Like I'm not out of this bracket. Like I have a very sports mindset when it comes to competition. I love competing, and so like the guys that I was around when I first started, I was like, I'm here.
Mm.
Like I'm not back there. Even when I would go to open mics, it wasn't this a different playing field, right? So I always had a 10-year plan of like it's going to happen. It's just figuring out how I want it to happen. Do you want to do the America's Got Talent thing and get notoriety, or do you want to, do the internet thing and do sketches and blow up like that and get to, dictate your own value, or do you want to, find another lane? Do you want to do a podcast for this long and figure it out this way? There's 100 lanes. It's just figuring out which one is true to you. Because at the end of the day, if I do a movie or if I do a show, I still have to live and die by the stand-up because that's who I am.
Yeah.
Like, whether I'm a good actor, whether I'm good at sketches, whether I'm good at TV or movies and this and that, I have to be better at stand-up than I am everything else because that's what I've made my life on, right? So as good as, Terrell Owens is at football, he does Dancing with the Stars, and it's like you're still football player doing Dancing with the Stars. You're not great dancer who played football, right?
Yeah.
So that's why, Steve-O made his living doing Jackass, but now he's stand-up comedian.
Right.
You will have to do stand-up for 10 years longer than you did Jackass to be considered a stand-up as opposed to
the guy from Jackass.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, it just
that sports
I
mind
always saw
frame
it.
that you're talking about. You bring into this, man. I've met a ton of comics like you, right? And maybe they're not outspoken about it. I don't know, but there's almost not a competitive nature to them, right? As
I
if
hate
there has to be this camaraderie of like, hey, bud, you're not taking on the next guy or beating out the next person, right? Do you think that's a separation or a difference for you? How's that playing for you?
So I understand the camaraderie of like, oh, everybody can be good. There's enough food for everybody. That's fine and dandy. That is also the case, but I'm also competing. Just because me and Stephen Wright don't do the same style of comedy, I understand he's incredible at what he does. But if you put us on the same lineup, I want smoke. Like I'm a problem. Like I've done shows with